And what's kicking my ninjas? Today I got a little something different. Today I got my niece Kimura. Say hi, Kimura.
Hi.
In the video today, this is gonna be some uncle niece time right now, and she said she wanted to shoot a YouTube video, so I'm gonna help her help me do something cool today. This is gonna be a little special edition of my Road to Greatness series, Perfecting Monarchs. Let's talk side deck tech. So let's get right into it. Alrighty, now. If we're talking about side deck tech, I have a general rule of thumb that I follow. Usually, and this is just depending on the event, depending on the matchup, depending on the metagame, I usually never like to side deck in more to seven to eight cards. I never really want to side deck more than that in because it's not cool, man. You know, you're diluting the integrity of your deck, especially if you're playing a combo deck. If you're playing a combo deck, my numbers vary. It's like 5 to 7, but I never really want to go higher than that. So all of my side deck cards have to be high impact, while also not ruining the integrity and the structure of my deck. So let's hop right into that. We got a couple of piles set aside for you guys. You know, it's almost as if we practice this. And we got a couple of piles set aside for you guys, and you're gonna see exactly what I mean here. So let's lay them out. First, we're gonna talk about the easy to get rid of cards in your deck, and we're gonna go with the first one. So this first pile here, this first pile is sort of like the monsters that I usually start cutting at. You'll notice that a lot of this is like engine pieces or tribute fodder, and a lot of this, well, not tribute fodder, the actual tribute monsters, rather, excuse me. And a lot of this is like, this could ruin the integrity of your deck if you take all of these cards out and board in a whole bunch of traps, because, I mean, albeit you can just draw a bunch of hands that just don't do anything. All right, so let's look at the next pile. And I'm going to dive a little more deeply into these as the video continues. I promise, guys. So in the next pile, we have these three cards. Now, this is a little more tricky because this pile is considerably smaller. It's just 50% less than the last pile, actually. And I never usually like to board out the two Monarch spells and traps, because if you do, you kind of ruin the critical mass of Monarch spells and traps in your deck. So you do want to be able to resolve all of your Erebus's and your Idols, or Aethers rather, and you want to be able to resolve them all. And usually I really started cutting Instant Fusion because it just opens you up to getting punished, because it's not a +1 like most of the other cards. But sometimes I'll leave it in as sort of like a pseudo MST to out of Floodgate. All right, next pile, which I don't know if we can really call this a pile more so than a card, but the last card is Vanity's Emptiness. Now, this card, as we all know, is a boss, but it does nothing in certain matchups. So you do want to, like, this is usually going to be on the chopping block depending on the matchup, okay? Now, let's take a look at the side deck that I'm running currently, and we'll dive more deeply into all of the piles and what all this really means. So, we've got all of our fodder cards, if you will, and over here we've got our side deck. You want to grab it? Go ahead. Promise it won't bite you. Now, my adorable little niece here is going to lay out my tokens here, which I don't know what that card does, but I saw it and I was like, man, this is a sick token. So these are my tokens. But bar the tokens part of this, let's go ahead and get these tokens out of the way. Go ahead and you can just lay out all of 15 of those cards right there. You got to probably make a second row here, because they can't see that card. Yeah, that card right there. Bring that over here. Yep, there you go. So this side deck, bar being all over the place. Let's get these over here. Let's get this right there. Let's get this right there. Okay, so bar being all over the place. Wait, these can go up top. Bang. And do beware when playing with this card, because you can lock yourself out of the game on accident. So you have to really preemptively set your cards with this. But so this is the side deck, and I never really want to side deck in more than 7 cards, right? So and obviously side deck does depend. It's very dependent on going first or second. And if you know you're going first, like this card is awesome going first, but it's kind of sorry going second. So I never really board this in going second. If I know 100% sure I'm going second, I don't really board this card in. So certain cards will make the chopping block quicker, and sometimes these monsters don't even come in at all. And usually, like, I'll board in all 3 of these, or just 1 in 1. You know, there's a lot of different variations and a lot of different permutations that this can go to. So basically, if I'm boarding out like all of my tributes, then I usually want to bring in some number of these, because these are tribute monsters, and this deck has to be able to tribute in order to do something. And if that's the case, then I'm always boarding in my Twin Twisters, because Mask of Restrict is a douchebag card. I'm usually boarding in some number of Roll Decree. This card is awesome going second. It's better going first, but this card is just fine going second, because you just set up a big board, and if they out you with like Mask of Restrict, you just have to like set it and then let your turn come back, and like at the end of their turn, you want to flip Decree preemptively in order to try to pull out any one of these, and then you can drop a Genzo on them. So that's sort of like the at least that's the, I want to say, I don't know the word I'm looking for here. That's sort of like the teaching that I follow, is never side deck more than 7 cards. And let's go ahead and go back to this over here, and my lovely assistant here. We can kind of go through one scenario. I'd like that. Let's go through one scenario. So you can just leave those there and just like make a huge like line up there. That'll work, I think. Bing, 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 bang. So depending on the matchup, let's say the most common matchup I play against. Okay, all right, got it. So the most common matchup I play against is Pendulum, right? My metagame, well, now it's Blue Eyes, and I have not really tested that matchup a lot, but let's say that we play against a crap load of Pendulum, then we've got a few cards that just don't do actual anything, right? So one of them that I usually, bar game 1, this card does nothing, right? So this is the first on my chopping block. This card here, this isn't Klee, so this does nothing. You can leave this in dependent on whether or not you're going first or second, but I usually don't. I don't ever really board this out unless I'm going against like some really heavy Floodgate deck. Usually against Pendulum, I'll board this guy out, bring it down to 2, and I'll board this guy out because I'm bringing in Twin Twisters. And then I'll board this guy out some of the time, depending, like if I'm going first or second. If I'm going first, this card's insane. If I'm going second, this card's garbage. And that's usually where this is usually the 5 cards I stand at, and I'll board in Twin Twisters and Curse Seals going second. Going first, I'll board in all 6 of these, all Twin Twisters and all the anti-magic, all the anti-spell fragrances. And I'll usually just board out like Vanity's Emptiness, because yes, it's awesome and all that type of stuff, but they're bringing in their MSTs, they're bringing in their Twisters. Like, it's just going to get outed so quickly that it's not going to have really a big impact on the board unless something major is happening, right? So that's pretty much like one side deck scenario between going first and going second. Against Pendulum as well, you can also board in the Dark Samorg as like an instant speed way to interact with them, so they can't set all their floodgates, but that's just down to player preference, honestly. So I hope you guys find this video, informative, and I hope you guys find this video useful to you if you're playing EDM, if you're playing my list specifically, or if you're playing, your own list, but you do so happen to have these cards side decked. And now I hope that this helps you out in order to, get down to the point, get down to the nitty gritty and say, hey, look, I know what to board in and what to board out. So from Ijo Ujo to you guys, remember to always rate, comment, subscribe, keep it kicking, my ninjas, and give a thumbs up for my adorable little niece here. All right, see you guys later. Say bye, Gamora.